Happy Friday, researchers. On this installment of the excitement of DSAP, I'm going to walk you through defining your O or F, your open reading frame, and also talk you through several of the analysis questions so that you remember what you're going to need to do. So just a quick disclaimer, notice I'm using Safari because sometimes Chrome doesn't save things. And yesterday and today, I was having a lot of trouble with the link for Toolbox, right, which is a tool you could use to determine your protein sequence. So instead of using this link in DSAP, I had to go to the WSSP page, wssp.rutgers.edu. Then I had to go to the Current Projects tab, and then I had to click on Toolbox. Okay, so just know that that might be something you have to do. And before you can use Toolbox, you need to make sure you run your BLAST-X search because the BLAST-X search is going to tell us what reading frame our protein is in. And just a quick reminder on what a reading frame is. So here's my nucleotide sequence. Let me go back to the beginning. And when this nucleotide sequence gets transcribed into RNA and then goes to the ribosome could do three potential things. It could start reading right from the start of this sequence and use ATC as the first codon. Or it could start reading from the second nucleotide and use TCA as the first codon. The third option is starting to read from the third nucleotide, CAG, and having that be our first codon. So you have reading frame 1 starting with the first base, reading frame 2 starting with the second base, and reading frame 3 starting with the third base. And what Toolbox does is it looks at all those potential options and tries to find out which one contains the most likely coding sequence, which is typically like the longest one, perhaps starting with an M, a methionine, that start codon, and ending with an asterisk, that stop codon. But rather than us kind of scan through all the options and make a judgment call, we could use our matches on BLAST-X to make a judgment call. So typically what you're going to want to do when you get your BLAST-X results is you're going to want to start by selecting a protein that has a name. Okay, so even though it's predicted, this protein is being claimed to be a vascular protein sorting associated protein. Okay, rather than just some random hypothetical number. So I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to take a look at what reading frame it's in. And right here I'm seeing it's in reading frame 3. And if I scroll down to some of the additional matches, I'm getting confirmation on that. Okay, so I'll take that, reading frame 3. And another thing I'm going to look at from BLAST-X is what the sequence itself looks like. M, starting with the methionine, nice, MFNRL. So when I go back to Toolbox and paste my, lost my sequence, give me a second, where am I? And paste my sequence in there, too far. I'm going to click right on reading frame 3 since BLAST told me that, and I'm going to trust BLAST, at least for now. Okay, there we go, I think. Nope. Oh, that was sad. I should not be allowed to use a mouse. All right, take 2. Come on. All right. Too far. ATTA. There we go. Okay. Command copy and paste. All right. And since I grabbed this straight from my sequence, no, looks fine. All right, frame 3. All right, so here I go, reading frame 3, and now I'm looking for that sequence that BLAST told me about, MFNRL. And I'm scanning starting from the end. Look at this, MFNRL. So starting from this M to the next stop codon is most likely my protein sequence. So I'm going to copy that. Hopefully that copied. Select reading frame 3 here. And here it asks for my most likely protein sequence. There it is. Do not include the asterisk there. Okay, and at which base does it start? Well, let me go back to Toolbox, and that is A144. And then I can find out which base it ends by just selecting my stop codon, A818. So that I can then type into my DSAP. All right, and then hit next, okay? From here, I'm going to be able to use that protein sequence to do a BLAST-P search. So unlike BLAST-X, which uses your nucleotide sequence, turns it into amino acid sequence, BLAST-P uses the amino acid sequence directly. So that's what you'll be able to do here. All right. Oh, it's going to be a pain. All right, then you're going to compare your BLAST-X and your BLAST-P. And here is where you're going to have to remember how to determine your 5' UTR and your 3' UTR based on how you defined your ORF, or your open reading frame. So essentially your 5' untranslated region is everything before your open reading frame. So those 143 bases that exist before A144 are your 5' UTR. And then everything after base 818 is your 3' untranslated region. So in order to figure this out, what I could do is just scroll up on the page. I would most likely have my cDNA sequence in here. And from that, let me actually quickly paste it in. Will it let me? No, it probably won't. All right, I apologize, but you'll have your sequence up here. And what you could do is you could click on base, in our case, 143, figure out what it is. That would be the end of your 3' UTR. And then look up here at your very first base, something 1, and type that in to here. Then you can look back up here and look for base 819, type that in as the start of your 3' UTR, and then scroll back up here, look at your very last base, and type that in as your end base. The number of the base will show up right here. Cursor is on base blank. It will fill in right there, so you can easily figure out where you are. All right, guys, so this should be your goal for today, to at least define your open reading frame, your 5' UTR, your 3' UTR, and do your BLAST-P search. I'll make an additional video with the analysis questions so that it's not super duper long. All right, guys, good luck. I'll be available on email if you have questions.